Welcome to the 17th episode of Why It's Awesome, the spoiler-free show where we attempt to take something often easily dismissed and explain why maybe you should give it a shot. The intention with this series is to help new fans find something that they'll enjoy that initially they might have passed over, or so that people who are already fans can pass this video on to their friends to persuade them to give the subject in question a go. This week, we'll be looking at Hellsing Ultimate, after a comment on my Fullmetal Alchemist episode prompted me to go back and binge watch the entire series. Thanks, James. So, for those of you not in the know, this series takes place in jolly old England, where we follow main protagonist and colossal vampire badass Alucard. By the end of the first episode, we learn that Alucard works for the Hellsing organisation, an organisation that has but one goal: hunt down and destroy any and all undead supernatural forces that threaten Queen and country. Because if media from outside of the United Kingdom has taught me anything, it's that England is broken down into two easily identifiable stereotypes: the Queen and her upper class cohorts, and Cockneys. Back on track, and I know I shall be shocking you to your very core here. Hellsing Ultimate is awesome. However, before we get there, let us look at what could be some common reasons for dismissal. These reasons are going to fall into two different camps, whether you are already a fan of anime or not. If you aren't really a fan of anime, reasons for dismissal could be, as always, it's anime and I am not a fan of it. Or, if you are already a fan of anime and have some knowledge of Hellsing Ultimate, common reasons usually fall along the lines of vampires, really? Because we don't have enough media surrounding them already. Or, this series seems too dark for my tastes. Our two previous episodes on anime, Space Dandy and Fullmetal Alchemist respectively, have both covered the it's anime reason for dismissal, so I won't be retreading those points here. If you haven't seen those episodes and are curious, there are links on the screen now or in the description. I will, however, expand on this point in Hellsing Ultimate's favour. It's not your stereotypical anime show. Typically, when I see the it's anime reason for dismissal, it's usually followed by complaints of magical girl anime and school-based shows and too much cuteness in the character models and animation. Well, if that's the way you feel, then may I present to you Hellsing Ultimate, a very Western-inspired action anime in the universe of a horror movie. You won't be seeing any Japanese high schools here. Now, when I say horror movie, I mean one particular horror movie, Francis Ford Coppola's film Bram Stoker's Dracula. That inspiration and influence shines throughout the entire series, particularly in the supernatural monsters that Alucard and the Hellsing organizations fight: vampires. I realise that saying a piece of media is based around vampires can elicit eye rolls and heavy sighs because outside of zombies, no supernatural monster has been used and neutered more. They've lost their appeal and, more importantly, their threat as monsters of the night, to the point that, because of one franchise, nowadays when people think of vampires, their first thought is actually of fairies. But let me assure you that Hellsing takes its vampires very seriously. It takes the entire premise very seriously, even attempting to explore personal questions about the human nature. However, Hellsing knows when it's time to scrap all of that and bask in the gratifying absurdity of two nigh unstoppable, immortal supernatural forces engaging one another in horrifying bloody war. This is what sets Hellsing apart from other vampire-based media: the rule of cool. The rule of cool is the idea that logical inconsistencies will be forgiven by the viewer if the end result is badass enough. If what you have been seeing thus far on screen hasn't instilled the idea that Hellsing lives and breathes the rule of cool, then let me assure you that this show, and predominantly Alucard himself, oozes cool. This carries through in spades to the action on display as well. It is as ridiculous and over the top as you would expect from everything I've already discussed, and it is gloriously entertaining because of it. Special mention must be given to the dub voice actors here, as they absolutely nail the characters, and their interactions with each other are all the more enjoyable because of it. My personal recommendation is to check out the dubbed version of this show, because you just can't get that old English feel without hearing the accents. Back to the action, however, the show adores indulging in the ludicrous scope of the grandiose spectacle on display, with some amazing visuals and set pieces because of it. Now, unfortunately, that indulging nature does come with a downside. Well, at least a downside to some people. Because of everything I've already discussed, Hellsing is a very, very bloody show. Mortal Kombat fatality level violence in practically every episode, and all the blood that comes along with it. Suggestive themes, strong language. It's probably easier for me to list the questionable things that Hellsing doesn't contain. Because of all this, Hellsing does end up being a very dark show, both in tone and what's on display, and unfortunately there's no real counter-argument to this problem. I mean, there is more to Hellsing than just spectacle and violence, although at the same time I guess there isn't. The show does take some time and dedicate it to the characterization of the cast, even if that can leave a lot to be desired and also leads to some annoying pacing issues. The humour sprinkled throughout the show's run can be very funny, although it does too often for me fall into that over-the-top Japanese style. This kind of stuff, while there, doesn't really get the screen time to be explored to any sort of satisfying degree, so it doesn't really have any sort of impact on the plot or the show. Pretty much 99% of the focus of Hellsing Ultimate is the spectacle and violence, but when it does it so well, you won't really care about anything else. You don't watch this show to see the slow burn of character arcs finally pay off, or the deep inner workings of its characters. You watch Hellsing Ultimate to indulge in the cathartic, chaotic brilliance of its overwhelming violence. It is the best kind of over-the-top popcorn fare, and it is definitely worth checking out. And that's it for another episode. So, what did you think? Did you enjoy this video? Let me know with a like, and if you'd like to see more, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Is there something that you love that other people just don't seem to get that you might want me to look into and make a video about? Let me know in the comments. And while you're there, what do you think about Hellsing Ultimate? Do you like it? Do you dislike it? And why? What is it about the show that makes you feel that way? Leave a comment to start a discussion, and, as always, thank you for watching.